We have truly horrific news to start with today. The worst mass shooting in modern American history was in the early hours Eastern time today, around 10 p.m. Pacific time last night, Sunday night in Las Vegas, Nevada, where a gunman opened fire. This was at an outdoor country music festival, sort of alongside the Mandalay Bay Hotel. And even though this was not a crowd that was at Mandalay Bay, it was close enough to Mandalay Bay that the gunman was actually on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas. And so far, and the numbers have already shifted drastically over the last 4 or 5 hours, over 50 killed is the number that we have, and more than 400 injured so far. And there were numerous off-duty police officers who are believed to be among the dead and the injured. And the gunman has been identified and is no longer alive. The gunman identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock of Mesquite, Nevada. He was found dead, reportedly, when SWAT entered his hotel of an apparent suicide, although the details are still unclear. Multiple weapons were found in the shooter's hotel room. The shooter's brother was interviewed by the media and said he was not aware of the shooter having the types of weapons that were reportedly used in this event, which include sort of rapid fire automatic firearms, and police used explosives even to get into the hotel room of the shooter here. Totally chaotic, totally terrifying, and reports of just endless people dropping dead or injured in a crowd. And it can be really difficult to accurately assess how long this lasted. There are some eyewitnesses who say this was not a quick event. This was something like 7 to 10 minutes. And of course, we know that particularly in these situations, eyewitness testimony can really be off in terms of how long something went on. Needless to say, from the video we have, it was clearly bad. Police shut down the area. They urged the public to stay away. Flights in and out of McCarran Airport in Los Angeles were temporarily halted. Here's just 15 seconds of audio of what this sounded like. Now, that noise tells us that this incident is directly related to the types of firearms and ammunition that the shooter had, right? And I'm not talking about gun laws in this sort of general sense of background checks or anything like that. The size of magazines for automatic type weapons, that makes a difference. This is not what someone would be able to do. These are not the sounds of fire that you would hear if someone had access only to the types of firearms that were available when the Second Amendment was written. And when people hear that gunfire, how can you say that gun laws don't make any difference, right? If it were harder for this guy to get high capacity firearms that could be fired at this rate of fire, would he have done just as much damage from the 32nd floor of a hotel with a handgun? You hear this meme from the pro-gun right very often. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, yes, that's true. And people can kill other people far more easily when they have access to firearms that have that rate of fire. What about knives, right? You always hear, hey, listen, even if there weren't guns available, people would just do the exact same thing except with knives. This guy from the 32nd floor of a hotel room was going to kill 50 plus people and injure over 400 with knives. What, was he going to toss the knives out the window and drop them on the victims? So this is as good a time as any to talk about the gun control aspect of this. You need to be aware that you're politicizing a tragedy is a line that is used by the right when they don't want to have serious conversations. It's a shutdown line. So the right says the left, whenever they don't want to have don't want to talk about a particular issue, the left will say that's an offensive question to be asking, right? That's the criticism from the right of the left to shut down debate. The right has their own version of that, right? The right has their own version of all forms of political correctness they criticize the left of. This is not the time to politicize a national tragedy. They say it on climate change after hurricanes, and they say it on gun legislation after there are mass shooting incidents. Don't fall for it, okay? Say the politics relate to what took place here. Now, the things we don't yet know, right? The motive, if any, according to according to police, police aren't yet aware of what the belief system was of this individual. It's been designated not connected to international terrorism. Hard to deny that this is an act of domestic terror. The suspect's history is being looked at, including whether he had prior communications with police. Police have already said this is not an entity, along with a woman who was allegedly in the crowd telling people that they were going to die and appears to have been connected to the incident. Police have said these were not known entities to us. The individual, the shooter, lived at a 55 plus sort of retirement community, and people there have been interviewed, and they said we couldn't really tell you anything that was out of the ordinary about this individual. So we will hopefully eventually find out what the circumstances were. The immediate speculation has been pretty unhelpful on both sides. There are some who say, listen, this was a country music concert. This guy is a violent liberal, and he knew at a country show there would be conservatives, so that's why he attacked that. Then there's the demographic argument, which is 64-year-old white men who have guns from a town of 18,000 named Mesquite, Nevada, are probably right-wingers, not left-wingers. We don't know. We don't know, and the entire speculation that is in the realm there, within that spectrum or outside of it, not helpful right now. I'm going to be in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. I'm anticipating a very different security situation and probably a different just general atmosphere around these massive hotel casino complexes, and rightly so after this incident.